Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel if you're new here, which you probably are. Today's video is going to be my February reading wrap up, so all the books that I read last month of February, and then I'm also going to include a little bit of my March TBR at the end of this video. It's not a huge TBR for March that I don't have like a set list of stuff like I did last month, but I will include some of the books that I want to get read next month. But yeah, let's just get into it. Okay, so I read a lot of library books last month. I've really been utilizing my library card these past couple months, and so I only have 4 of the books that I read last month in my possession. So for the other books that were from the library, I will just like pop up a picture on the screen. I have my tea ready. My last monthly wrap up, I had my tea too, and it's a struggle, guys. Like, it smells so good, and then I take a drink and I'm just like, no thank you. Okay, so the first book that I read last month was Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. That feels like a long time ago that I read it. I don't know why, but February is not a long month, but that just feels like a while ago. I would say this is a solid 3.5 stars. I didn't love this as much as I thought I was going to. It's not a bad book. It's just different than I thought it was going to be, and like not in a good way. I don't know how to describe it. I thought it was going to be like a mystery because they're like, oh, this house is set on fire. That's like the main thing, and they make it feel like it's going to be a big deal, and then like it's literally not a big deal at all. I was so confused by that. I also just didn't love like her dad. I really hated her dad, which I did like the kind of cameo like crossover between that and Seven Husbands. But like, I don't know. When I just compared, I've only read 2 books by her, and when I just compared like Seven Husbands to Malibu Rising, I much prefer Seven Husbands. I thought it was so good. I just didn't love Malibu Rising. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it other than it was a good book. It was decent, but it wasn't one that I would read again. Like, I'm most positive that I wouldn't, and I'm glad I checked it out from the library instead of buying it because it was just very subpar to me. You know what I mean? Okay, next up, now, you can judge me, and I understand if you do. Love Hypothesis. I read last month, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but this was a 5 stars for me, okay? Now, I know people either love this book or they hate this book, and I get why people don't like it because it is very cringe, and we all know the one part, okay? When these two get down, it is actually one of the cringiest things I've ever read. I was very uncomfortable, and yeah. Anyways, moving on. But other than that, I just thought it was so cute. Like, I loved their story. I love him too. I think he was cute. I liked him. I liked her. I don't know. I thought they had good chemistry. Yeah, I really liked it. That's pretty much all I have to say. I liked the way that it was written too. Basically, the synopsis is her best friend is dating her ex, and her best friend thinks that she's upset about it, but she's not. She literally doesn't care. So she decides, she's like, oh, I have a boyfriend already. And she's like, oh, no way. And then she kisses him because she just sees him. And then she finds out that he's like this mean professor on campus. But then, of course, you know, they fake date and they fall in real love. And yeah, it was a cute story. I really liked it. Just gives me, like, I don't know what it is about those just like cute, cheesy romance novels, but I'm a fan, okay? Yes, I know this was cringe. Yes, I know this was cheesy and slightly immature, but listen, I'm a cheesy and immature gal, okay? So I loved this. Okay, next we have Love on the Brain. I checked that out from the library because I had the Love Hypothesis and I wanted to read like all the cute little romancy, pinky type of vibe books this month. I didn't love Love on the Brain. It was definitely a solid 3 stars for me. I just didn't understand really a lot of the book. I almost felt like stupid as I was reading it. That's so like weird, but I literally felt like I wasn't intellectually capable enough to read this book. I did like the ode to like Madame Curie, I think that's how you say her name, but I don't actually know anything about her. But I do think the ode to her was cool, and I liked a lot of the points that they made about like women in STEM and how men take over pretty much everything. But other than that, I just didn't really love the book. I don't know. Overall, the story I just wasn't really invested in, and I was just kind of bored by the end of it. Like, once I was like 3/4 through, I was just so ready to finish the book just so I could finish it. Not really so I could find out what happened. You know? Okay. This next book. Oh my god, this next book, you guys. So me, my mom, and my sister have a little book club that we've started doing this year, and I chose for January, and it was my sister's turn to choose for February. So she chose Mexican Gothic, which is a sci-fi thriller, kind of paranormal a little bit, and I was actually really excited to read this because the whole point of this book club, it was cool because we can all pick out books that we wouldn't normally choose, or can kind of introduce us to different genres and things. So she picked out Mexican Gothic, and first of all, the cover is beautiful. Literally the most beautiful cover I've ever seen in my entire life. I was obsessed. However, I thought from like the first couple chapters, I thought I was going to be obsessed with it just based because it was kind of getting the storytelling and everything. But then after that, it just felt really long and very dull. Like, it just kind of felt like a lot of chapters of nothing. Like, a lot of nothing happening. And the ending was so weird. Like, I really, the only word I have to describe this book, which we were all talking about in our meeting about it, was bizarre. Like, that's the only word I have to describe this book. And they're actually making a Hulu series on it, so I'm actually think for a show, it'll actually be a good show. But reading it was just like not my vibe. If you like thrillers and you like sci-fi stuff, you might like it. But I think that was my first ever thriller I've ever read, and you know, it just wasn't my vibe. It just wasn't my thing. I rated it a 2.5 stars. Okay, this next book we're gonna just like kind of skim over because it's a nonfiction. I do actually love nonfiction and I read it pretty frequently. Rating a nonfiction book is just kind of hard. However, this is a 5 stars, and it's mainly because I read The High Five Habit by Mel Robbins. And I'm obsessed with Mel Robbins, just as a side note. Like, she is queen. We stan, we love her, okay? But she basically introduced this new technique where you wake up in the morning and you just high-five yourself in the mirror, and the high five, there's literally like a chemical, scientific research, there's a chemical reaction that happens when you do that because your brain has only ever associated high fives with something positive. And yeah, basically just read the book. I can't even really explain everything that's about. Like, nonfiction books, especially personal growth ones, I think anyone who reads those, you can kind of agree with me on that. It's really hard to explain, but just go read this book. I literally recommend this book to every single person on this earth. A big part of this book is about gaining confidence in yourself and really growing your self-esteem to just pursue your dreams, and it was such a cool read. I read it in like 2 days. Loved it. I checked it off from the library, but I definitely plan on buying it because it's a book that I would read literally so many times over. The last library book from last month was Book Lovers by Emily Henry. This was my first Emily Henry book, and I was really, really surprised by it in such a pleasant way. Like, I loved this book. I thought it was so good. 4.5 stars for me. It was a solid. It wasn't like a 5-star because it just didn't give me like that feeling. There were a few parts in the book where I was just kind of bored or something. I don't know. But it was really good overall. I was kind of disappointed because I thought it was like two people who were just obsessed with books. You know, like people who loved books. Hence the title. But they're both people just that work with books. Like, she's a publisher and then he's an editor. They didn't really have any chemistry in the beginning, but then they slowly started getting it, and it's a small town romance setting too. It was just so cute, and the relationship that she had with her sister was just adorable. And then at the very end, the relationship that she just had with like his whole family, I just thought that was the cutest thing, and that was like the best ending I could have ever imagined. So yeah. Loved that. I checked it off from the library, but I also do plan on buying that book as well. And I'm so excited to read more Emily Henry now. I definitely am going to read Beach Read, but I want to wait until summer because I just feel like obviously that's the vibe. Next up, we have The Do-Over by Lynn Painter. This book lovers. And then the next 2 books I'm going to mention I actually did a reading vlog on. I think this will be up before that video. I loved this book. I loved Better Than the Movies. That was my favorite book I read in the month of December. Rated it a 5 stars, and initially, like, my Goodreads, I rated this a 5 stars because I was still like on the high of the book after finishing it. But honestly, when I think back on this, I think this is a 4-star book for me. It was such a cute story. Her covers, she slaps every time. She nails it. Like I said, I just love those cute YA, cheesy, very cutesy romances. I don't know what else to say about it. I love them. I think they're adorable. And I thought I was maybe going to get bored with this because it takes place, it's like a time loop. So it's like she's reliving Valentine's Day over and over again. But I actually didn't, because it didn't feel like the author was just repeating the exact same things every single day. It was always something different, and I really liked how she wrote this. Cool thing with Lynn Painter, she always kills it on the cover. She snaps. And then she always has the cutest little illustrations in the book. And look, you like open up, there's little cartoons here. And she always does something cute with the chapters. So like in Better Than Movies, every single chapter she included a rom-com quote, and I just loved that. Those little touches, they do something to me. She goes the extra mile. And then the next book that I read was Icebreaker. I have been wanting to read this book for months at this point, and I just hadn't picked it up, but I finally decided to last month, and oh my god, I was obsessed with this book. I think this was my favorite book that I read last month, to be honest. This was definitely a 5 stars for me, which I know seems pretty high. I've never really seen anybody rate it at 5 stars, but I just felt that way, okay? First of all, this cover, Stan. Anastasia, we love her, but listen. Nate, Golden Retriever, we love him. He is one of my favorite book boyfriends I've read about, to be honest. Grumpy Sunshine, but it's like reverse Grumpy Sunshine, so she's grumpy and he's not. Grumpy Sunshine's like not like my favorite trope. It's okay, but I really liked how she did it in this one. So I don't know what it is, but I just love seeing the boy pine after the girl. It just does something to me. It's so much more interesting than when the girl's pining after the guy. And I loved him. He was so funny, and she was funny. Very spicy, so if you don't like spice, you know, maybe don't pick this up, because there's quite a bit, but we love spice on this channel. So basically, she's an ice skater, he's a hockey player, and then something happens to the rink that he practices in, so they have to practice in the same rink. She's trying to go to the Olympics. She's a pair skater. Something ends up happening to her pair, so she has to skate. He fills in for a little bit. They fall in love. There's very much found family aspects in this book too. I feel like nobody really mentions that, but the found family that she has with like all of his friends is so adorable. Oh my god, love it. The ending was perfect. Everything about this. It was a little bit long. Like, I don't think any romance book should be over 400 pages. Like 350 is like plenty to me. And this was $4.29, but you know what? I loved every single second of it, and I actually want to read this again, and I literally just finished it. So the last book that I read for February was one that kind of let me down a little bit. We'll get into it. Okay, so it was Simon versus the Homosapiens Agenda. So one of my favorite movies ever is Love, Simon, which is what this book was, or what this is the book that the movie was based on. We have Nick Robinson there. Yeah, permanent stickers. I can't take these off. So thanks, Barnes Noble. I hate that. It was just, I don't know. I think I just was expecting it to be a little bit like the movie, because usually, I know sometimes they change things for the movies, but honestly, I really prefer the changes that they made in the movie to what was actually in here. If you've seen the movie, it really starts off like in the middle, almost the middle of the movie, which is so weird to me. It starts off with him getting blackmailed because he's emailing this guy, Blue, anonymously. Neither of them knows who each other is, but they know that they go to the same high school. So another guy finds his emails. He leaves his computer open, finds emails, and he basically blackmails him to try to get close with his friend Abby that he likes. And then obviously the emails come out and everything, and I love the message behind this book, but overall I just really preferred the movie. I don't know how else to describe it, and I'm so much a read the book person, but when it comes to this, I really just recommend watching the movie because the movie is incredible. not my favorite. I would give the book a 3 stars. I feel like that's fair. Yeah, I was just riding the high of the movie, and I was trying not to compare it too much, but honestly, if I hadn't seen the movie before reading this book, I would have been just kind of lost, because it really just kind of jumps into the story, and there's really not a lot of background for the characters or anything like that. And also, I've said this in my reading vlog, but his parents are so cool in the movie, and they are lame as fuck in the book, okay? Lame as fuck. Okay, I was literally this close to being done, and then my camera died, so I had to change that. I'm pretty sure it got everything I said. Love Simon, 3 stars. Now let's get into my March TBR. I wanted to read Asimov last month, but I didn't get around to it, so I'm gonna read it this month. Right here, beautiful. I love the covers of these books. I have 3 of them now, so I have ACOTAR, Asimov, and then ACOWAR. I just got ACOWAR. And just seeing those 3 together in my bookshelf gives me the biggest serotonin boost. I can't even describe it. So I'm going to read that. And then, of course, ACOWAR. You already know. Now, this bitch is thick, okay? But I plan to read both of those books next month. And then I'm also going to read Little Fires Everywhere. I can't remember the author's name, but that's the book that my mom chose for month. It was her month to choose for our little book club, so she chose Little Fires Everywhere. I've seen the TV show and I loved it. I'm so sad that they canceled it, so I'm really pretty sure I'm gonna love the book. That's pretty much it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you did, I hope you have a good day or night wherever you are, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!